What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily, and in this video, we are checking out the Honor Magic 4 Pro. Now, this phone has actually been out for a little while, but it recently got relaunched for the global market, and this is Honor's first device since sort of severing ties with Huawei. So this is almost like a rebranding in a way. And I have to say, this device really packs a ton of great stuff. It's absolutely a flagship smartphone with the specs and features to show for it. I'm going to go over everything you need to know about the Honor Magic 4 Pro in this video, of course. But first things first, let's just quickly unbox it so I can show you a couple of the important things that come inside the package. Sliding off the lid of the box here, the first thing we see is the phone itself, of course. Obviously, what really stands out is the ridiculous camera setup around back, and we'll dive a little deeper with that in just a bit. We do get quite a few other things inside though. Affixed to the outside of this first small package is your SIM ejector tool. And inside the package, you'll find actually a pretty nice crystal clear rubber case, which should keep this very expensive smartphone protected. It's always nice to have. At the very bottom of the box, we do get a USB-A to USB-C cable for charging and a pretty crazy 100-watt supercharger wall plug. This thing is massive. It can juice up the Magic 4 Pro to 100% in about 30 minutes. And it's great that Honor is not just including these accessories still, but also offering some of the best charging speeds that you could ask for. So with all that stuff out of the way, here is the Honor Magic 4 Pro once again. You can see I got mine in this bluish green cyan color. It also comes in black, white, gold, and orange, so lots of options to choose from. And between the insane camera setup, mirrored premium finish, and very curvy display, this is no doubt one of the most unique looking smartphones I've seen so far this year. Now, pricing on this phone is going to vary a little bit depending on where in the world you live, but generally speaking, it's a pretty pricey device, commanding at least $1,000 in most markets. So very much a top tier phone price-wise. The Magic 4 Pro is a fairly large 6.81-inch smartphone. That's the screen size corner to corner, but its insanely high screen to body ratio of some 93% means what you see is pretty much all screen. Up top, you'll actually see sort of a dual selfie camera in the corner, which I'll touch on in a second. Across the bottom, a slightly thicker border, but not too noticeable. And along the sides, a curvy flowing glass and screen combo that essentially makes the side borders disappear. Now, I don't have exact measurements, but this looks and feels like one of the curviest smartphones I've seen in a while, with that incredibly steep display edge. I know it's sort of a love it or hate it thing nowadays, but in the hand, while I do sometimes catch some of that curved edge with the display, it doesn't appear to cause any issues with misinputs or unintended touches. And like I said, even though this is technically one of the bigger phones just based on its screen size, it doesn't feel as big, since you have almost no borders or bezels in the way. It's surprisingly comfortable to hold. Around back, that shiny mirror finish is all glass that looks and feels ultra premium, though you'll no doubt have to fight off plenty of fingerprints. What little sides and edges you do have are a color matching polished metal. Sharp edges, curvy contoured shape that makes the phone feel really thin, and an IP68 certification for water and dust resistance, the finishing touch on a super premium and incredibly high-end build and design, which you should expect on a phone like this. Taking a quick look around at everything else, nothing on the left side of the phone there. On the right, your usual volume and power buttons. Up top, what's sort of interesting, one of two full-size speakers. In the middle, next to an IR blaster as well. Towards the bottom, the second speaker, alongside the USB-C port, and dual SIM card tray. Unfortunately, no expandable storage on this phone though. The dual selfie camera there is actually a lens plus a 3D time of flight sensor for extra secure face unlocking. And around back, that crazy triple lens camera setup, which I'll go more in depth with in just a bit. Underneath the display, the Magic 4 Pro does get the flagship caliber ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, which is faster and more secure than what you'll see on those mid-range devices. And to me, this feels as good as it does on Samsung's S22 series. It's super quick, you barely have to touch it to wake and unlock the phone, and it's definitely the kind of feature this device deserves. When it comes to that big display, the 6.81-inch screen on the Magic 4 Pro absolutely delivers some top-tier specs. It's an LTPO OLED panel with HDR10 Plus support, coming in at a custom quirky resolution of 2848 by 1312 for some 460 pixels per inch. It's covered in an aluminosilicate glass, can reach a peak brightness of around 1000 nits, and is also a 120 Hz high refresh rate display as well. I don't know if you could ask for much more than this. The viewing experience on this phone is pretty incredible. You've got a phone that's almost all screen. It's bold, it's bright, it's got the slightly higher resolution and the high refresh rate together. It's sharp, it's smooth, it's responsive. It's absolutely what you should expect considering this phone retails sells for a 4-figure price tag, and it definitely competes with the likes of an S22 Ultra. On top of all that, Honor brought along some other unique display features of their own, including reduced flickering from the OLED panel, frame rate booster for 60 FPS video playback, video enhancer to artificially render non-HDR videos into HDR, and Honor's own motion sync. Altogether, I do believe this is a viewing experience that warrants the price tag, and I think there's more than enough here to thoroughly enjoy any and all kinds of content you might want to watch. It's a top-tier, top-spec screen from start to finish, and certainly worthy of its flagship distinction. For the speaker setup, like you saw, Honor brought 2 full-size speakers to this phone, the one at the top and one at the bottom. This allows for much fuller stereo sound since the secondary speaker isn't tucked away in the earpiece, and I absolutely can hear the difference. Here's a sound sample so you can get an idea as well. Inside, the Magic 4 Pro packs in all the latest top-end 2022 specs, including the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 processor, Adreno 730 GPU, and the option of either 8 or 12 gigs of RAM, and 256 or 512 gigs of built-in storage. Here are the Geekbench scores, which mimic what we've seen on some other Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 devices. No doubt the ultra-powerful performance capabilities you should expect on a phone like this. It does ship with Android 12 shrouded in the Magic UI 6, which I find to be a very friendly and well-optimized Android skin to some extent, though I realize it may not be for everyone. Now, one thing you will notice, this global version of the Magic 4 Pro does have the Google Play Store and the handful of other Google apps and services that maybe may not have been pre-installed or easily accessible when Huawei was running the show. So that's great to see, and I know that's one thing that kept me from considering Honor devices in the past. On top of that, this phone is obviously going to be fast, powerful, and incredibly capable given its hardware specs, so pushing it hard with graphics-heavy games at their highest settings shouldn't be an issue. And I look forward to testing all that out on this phone further for my full review, to really see what it can handle. All in all, I do think the combination of high-end internal specs and the Google-centric Android experience now will definitely allow more people to consider this device as a flagship competitor this year. Also powering this phone is a pretty sizable 4600 milliamp battery. Now, on the one hand, that isn't over the top. We've seen 5000 to 6000 milliamp batteries in similarly large devices, but that battery is going to get supercharged by the included 100 watt wall plug I mentioned earlier. You can expect a 50% charge from 0 in about 15 minutes and 100% in about 30 minutes. So your time plugged into the wall should be absolutely minimal, regardless of how much you might use this phone. You've also got reverse wireless charging features as well, so a full suite of power options to utilize. Finally, when it comes to those cameras, this is no doubt one of the standout physical features of this phone, but you also have a ton of great in-app camera options as well that really make the most of all that hardware. To start, the rear camera setup consists of a 50 megapixel f1.8 aperture main lens, a 50 megapixel 122 degree ultra wide lens, and a 64 megapixel periscope telephoto lens with 3.5 times optical zoom and up to 100 times digital zoom. Up front, the selfie camera is a 12 megapixel 100 degree lens with the time of flight sensors I mentioned earlier with 3D mapping for face unlock, and inside the camera app, there is just a ton of amazing features, shooting modes, and options that really make this phone a camera-focused device. There's a myriad of pro controls and manual options that adjust just about everything, from the aperture to movie video controls to robust pro controls for pictures, multi-lens filming, incredibly capable zoom controls, 4K video, laser autofocus, and so much more. Certainly beyond my own camera abilities, but this is a setup that absolutely competes with any top-tier flagship phone. And just taking a peek at a few sample shots here, these pictures really look good. The selfie shots are incredibly well balanced, the color is on point, it looks very true to life, and the amount of detail in every shot is very apparent. It's a similar story with the rear lens setup as well. These pictures really look phenomenal, and I have no doubt that this phone could very much compete with any of the top tier flagship smartphones on the market right now. I'm super excited to put this phone to the test to see how this camera setup competes. I have some pretty high expectations, honestly, considering everything this phone seems to offer. So all in all, this new Honor Magic 4 Pro is absolutely a pro flagship caliber device in every sense of the word. It offers that premium build and top tier materials, awesome viewing experience, top of the line specs, and over the top camera setup too. And all that stuff and more certainly warrants a much higher price tag. But what do you guys think? Is this a phone you'd consider right now? Does it compete in the market of the 4-figure flagship smartphones? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to know your thoughts, of course. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video though. Be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter and subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.